Hi, I'm Madison O'Neill.
I'm Landon Williams.
I'm Annabelle Sandoval.
And I'm Bobby Smith.
Our disaster project was over the failure of the New Orleans levee system during Hurricane Katrina in August of 2005. Some facts of the accident were that Hurricane Katrina was the deadliest hurricane to hit the United States since 1928. There was an estimated $75 billion of damage that Hurricane Katrina caused, making it the costliest hurricane in United States history. Hurricane Katrina was a Category 5 before making landfall in Buras, Louisiana. When it did make landfall, it was a Category 3. A lot of the flooding was due to breached levees and overtopped levees, but majority of it came from just breached levees, not just the overtopping. The storm surge flooding reached 25 to 28 feet above normal tide levels. And then the layout of Louisiana is shown here. All areas that are yellow are actually have an elevation below sea level. The average elevation of New Orleans is 6 feet below sea level. Only about half of New Orleans lies above sea level.
Next, we're going to be discussing the sequence of events before, during, and after the hurricane. So before, on Sunday, August 28th, we know that at 2 a.m., Hurricane Katrina was considered a Category 5 hurricane. At 9:30 a.m., the mayor of New Orleans ordered a mandatory evacuation. And at 5 p.m., the center sent out a warning about the levee. And on late Sunday night, anybody who was still in New Orleans, who didn't have a place to go, they were staying at the Superdome. On August 29th, during the day of the hurricane, at 2 a.m., we know that the storm is 130 miles from New Orleans. At 2 a.m., we also know that a weather buoy recorded waves of 45 feet high. And at 5 a.m., the winds are around 150 miles an hour. At 7 a.m., the eye is ashore in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, 70 miles from New Orleans. And at 8 a.m., the mayor reports that the water is overflowing the levee. At 3 p.m., the center of the hurricane is about 20 miles of West Mississippi, and the winds are about 95 miles an hour. On August 30th, the day after the hurricane, the National Hurricane Center issues a late advisory, and all day they also said that the floodwater continues to pour into New Orleans and it breaks in the levee. And at 2 p.m. on that day, the mayor calls out an SOS. Also, we know that all day the engineering corps went out to pump out the water and begin to repair the broken levee.
I'm going to be discussing the analysis of the levee breach. The storm surge overtopped levees in Plaquemines Parish in Louisiana. Some levees were under construction of the time of the hurricane, so they were not 100% complete. They were about 60% complete. Flood walls at the west edge of the 9th Ward failed due to under seepage flows, and some flood walls failed due to overtopping, but not all of them. Some of them were just breached. Construction of the levees that led to failure. Some levees were made by filling them with hydraulic dredge materials from channels along the levees. The construction of levees with the hydraulic dredge materials left them subject to severe erosion. The levees should have been made with compacted clay cores. The 17th Street Canal flood wall fell due to instability caused by failure within the clay beneath the levee and the eye wall. London Avenue flood wall failed similar to the 17th Street Canal flood wall, except the foundation of the layer was sand instead of clay. The pumping stations were outdated and failed miserably. There were not any flood walls along any of the lake canals. I wasn't even going to attempt to say that word.
Alright, I'm going to be discussing what has been done to prevent any further natural disasters on Katrina. First off, Engineering Corps used thousands of computerized simulations of hurricanes. Second off, parts of the levees were built higher than needed to allow for 50 years of subsidence. The levee has a combination of grass and fabric mat. This will assure that the levee won't erode. And every 10 years, the levee will undergo a review to make sure that it's up to standard.